In chapters 39 and 40 of The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, Rand sees the false dragon, meets the daughter heir of Andor, and is dragged before the Queen and her Aes Sedai. All this and more coming up next. Hello and welcome to the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
And as the intro said, we are covering chapters 39 and 40 of The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I got it right, didn't I?
Yeah. Yep,
sure.
Those are the
okay,
two.
Cool. Awesome. So we are quickly approaching, I'm going to forever use this term, but the Sanderlanche, right? So, well, I guess if I turn it this way, but we are, I think it's clear that things are starting to pick up quite a bit in the storytelling. The pace is picking up, more things are happening. So, and the party's getting closer to being in the same place. So I think it's
Quite close.
I think it's getting pretty exciting. So why don't we jump right in, and we'll start with Chip.
So the first of these chapters is, it's kind of fun. Not a lot really. It's not exciting, but Rand kind of gets back out into Caemlyn. He's trying to go see Logain. They're marching him to the palace, and so he has the run-in with the beggar, who is someone that, having read this, I know who it is, and we've seen him before, but really, other than kind of that run-in, all it really does is kind of push Rand to find another viewing spot to see Logain, and it happens to be a palace wall, and he then falls in, and the next chapter is really fun, I think. I think this is one of the better chapters we've read so far, and it does a lot to really almost like resets the focus of everything, that all of a sudden Rand realizes that he's in a much bigger world than he even realized that he was, that, he's meeting the Queen, that there is, I think that this would be the second Aes Sedai. He didn't really meet Elida, but she's there. Gareth Bryn is another interesting character. He's met Elayne and Gawyn and Galad, and just, all of these new people that are at a much different stature than he is as far as society goes. So it's opening up this whole new world. And what's interesting is how much these people that he meets know about him that he really doesn't even know about himself yet. Because, Gawyn's surprised that he says he's from the Two Rivers, and, he looks like this redheaded Aielman that, shouldn't be from the Two Rivers, but he sounds like he's from the Two Rivers, so maybe he is from the Two Rivers. And, Gawyn also surprises him because he knows about the Two Rivers, and he knows their major exports, and I think he even says that Elayne should marry someone from the Two Rivers, which is a nice little bit of foreshadowing, too. But then Elida recognizes that he's got this heron-marked blade, and it's strange to see someone from the Two Rivers with a heron-marked blade, even if it's not his, and someone else from the Two Rivers gave it to him. It's just weird to see that. So there's just a lot of things going on here, and the whole concept that Loyal introduced a couple chapters ago about the Ta'veren and how the web or the pattern kind of weaves itself around him really ties into what's going on here, about how he happened to be in the right place at the right time to be in this situation and meet all these people. And I'm droning on and on, so I'll hand it over to Brian.
Well, first of all, I think Chip, I would agree with all of those points. I think there are some really good there was some good continuation of drama with the beggar in the streets. If you're afraid of being found out and someone comes out of a crowd, beggar or not, and points at you, you just kind of get that overwhelming sense of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen. And what I was so glad for was in the second chapter, we didn't jump to a different character perspective. We actually we lessened the immediate danger, but it was just a different style of writing where we slowed the pace down. He goes up on that wall, and it was like, oh, what are you doing up here? And he's so startled he falls off. And then at that point, we get to meet these great characters. I really liked the brother and sister team, the prince and princess, if you will. I thought they were a really good addition. It just, uh, I don't know. Like, I really like this time in Caemlyn. I feel like we're getting a lot of good character building in here. So I'm enjoying this part of the book. I think this is a lot of fun to read.
Um, so I'm gonna try and grab some different things so we're not all saying the same things. One thing I think we are seeing at the very beginning is that Matt is still just continuing to close himself off. Like he's hardly even acknowledging Rand anymore. He's just laying in bed. He's huddled in a ball. I'm guessing he's clutching the dagger, right? So he's just withdrawing into himself, and that's why Rand is off in the city by himself to go try and see Logain, because Matt's just not interested. So it appears, to the reader that he's slipping further and further away from where he used to be, or the person he used to be. When they are in the palace in front of Morgase and Elada, however you say her name, two interesting things. The first is her foretelling. So she has the power of foretelling, right, which is a gift or an ability that not all Aes Sedai have. In fact, I think it is pretty rare, if I remember correctly. But she says, "This I foretell and swear under the light that I can say no clearer. From this day, Andor," which is the kingdom in which Caemlyn is the capital city, "marches toward pain and division. The shadow has yet to darken to its blackest, and I cannot see if the light will come after. Where the world has wept one tear, it will weep thousands." And then she continues looking at Rand and says, "This too I foretell. Pain and division come to the whole world, and this man stands at the heart of it." So I'm a sucker for like prophecy and foretelling and stuff like that. Like, whether it's this or, Harry Potter did a different take, just that kind of stuff is always just fascinating to me. So I like that. And then the last thing I want to touch on is the reaction of everybody in the room when Elada points out that Rand's got a heron mark blade. Like the guards all of a sudden like shuffle back and draw their weapons, and like everybody is just immediately on edge. And Gareth Bryn, because they're having this debate. Oh, he's too young. He's from the Two Rivers. He can't possibly be a blade master. And Gareth Bryn is like, no, just that sword belongs to him. Just look at it. Look at him. Look how he carries himself with it. That is his sword. So clearly, we know Rand is not a master swordsman, but the fact that he's been carrying it from Eamon's Field all the way to Caemlyn, I mean, it's become a part of him, and I think that just that imagery is really cool. So, all right. So, Brian, you touched on Elayne and Gawyn. Without diving into the audiobooks, I'm sure that we're just butchering names left and right. But I saw something on the internet. Shocker, right? And it said basically, if somebody mispronounces a word or a name, don't harp on them. It probably means they learned it while reading a book. So there we go. I feel better about myself already. Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
But yeah, I mean, just those two characters are such a drastic shift from other characters we've met so far. They play so well off each other. They're very real and very well written.
And I really like the way that they are written, specifically in that we talk about Rand always being on the lookout. He's always like, you kind of get the feeling like he's stuck in a never-ending like fire drill where he's just running around from point A to point B, always moving. These two have a very calming presence and a very calming effect on him. I feel like the writing kind of slows down, but it actually allows for greater greater dialogue between the characters.
But it was almost similar to, or kind of mirrored when he met Loyal earlier, where he just opened up, and when they asked who he was, he just, yeah, I'm Randolph Thor from the Two Rivers, and he didn't have any hesitation in telling them who he was. So he, and I guess I don't know if that's going back to kind of those hints, that being Ta'Veren, if he had a different feeling, or if it was the one power, or anything that was kind of running through him at the time, that that he just had an intuition that these people seem trustworthy for whatever reason it is.
Right.
And it's and this is a completely new setting, right? I mean, he's inside the palace. He goes to the seat of the queen, like, for a shepherd from a small town on the very edge, very fringe of this kingdom. That's kind of amazing.
Well, I think it's fun too how he's so adamant that he's from the Two Rivers. That's where he's from. His dad's Tamil Thor. That's where he grew up. But anyone who sees him and doesn't know him assumes that he is something else entirely, and he's not accepted that yet. That I think that he knows that he didn't come from the Two Rivers, but he still identifies as being from the Two Rivers.
That. And they've, throughout the entire book, Jordan's made these comments that he's very tall, that he's got red hair, that he's got gray eyes, all these things. And even like Morgase and Elayne and everybody in the I don't think it was the throne room. Was it like the great room or the great hall or something like that?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Or like, well, he doesn't look like he's from the Two Rivers, but he sounds like he's from the Two Rivers. He's got the right accent. So
yeah.
And then Gawyn at the end, he says, wrap a shufa around your head and you're the spitting image of an Aielman. So, I mean, it's the first time somebody's come out, I think, and laid it out for him. That I remember.
Now, have we had? So this is me being forgetful, and I don't recall if we've met any Aielman up till this point, or know much about them. Like, we just kind of have heard the name maybe twice now.
There's just some bits and pieces that because we heard about what was the group that was. The Trolloc War, and I can't remember now, but there was something about they were hunting Trollocs and the Blight, maybe. Or
the Tinkers were telling the story about.
That was it. That's
right. And then if you go back to Tam's fever dream, he was talking about being in that war with the Aiel when they came across the wall. When what's his name cut down the tree, which basically kept the peace between the Aiel and everybody this side of the wall, or the mountain range. So you've heard allusions and you've heard references to them, even though they haven't been mentioned specifically. So
got it.
Yeah,
good.
Connecting some dots.
Yes.
So one thing that was kind of interesting to me was when he did get to view Logain, and he's basically like, because Logain was caged in this cart, surrounded by a couple Aes Sedai who were using the One Power to prevent him from using the One Power, so shielding him from the Source. And even with that, even under all the guards, with the warders surrounding his cart, scanning the crowd and making sure nothing happened, he still had this air of a king, like this undefeated man. He was standing proud. He was looking people in the eye. He was causing this crowd to shrink back because he was just that sure and that intimidating. So that I thought was a pretty cool visualization, at least in my head.
Yeah, I like that scene where they're, when they're talking about wherever he looked, the crowd kind of shrunk back and quieted down, and that, other areas of the crowd would be yelling at him and whatever, but anytime that he turned to look, then they all kind of shrunk back and decided not to say anything.
Grappling with this whether to say this or not, because it does reference something that happens in the later books, but I don't think it's a major spoiler. So, should I say it? I am.
You're halfway there.
Am I living on a prayer?
Just do it at this point.
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
Lizard on a chair.
So
what?
in the later books, you hear from Logain, and people that channel the one power, they sometimes have unique gifts or abilities, right? And when Logain was being paraded from around the corner where Rand first is able to get a view of him, Logain actually sees him, and to Logain he appears like this bright light, just giving off all this radiant light, and he recounts that. He's like, I knew the moment I saw you, way far away in Caemlyn, what you were. So that was just because when I was reading through, I'm like, oh, Rand sees him and he's like this blindingly brilliant light, and then I'm like, wait, no, it's the other way around. It's Logain that sees him, and then later recounts to Rand. He's like, "Hey, you're the shit, dude." So, I just that callback. I'm like, it's not really a spoiler because we already kind of know Rand is the one, right?
Mm-hmm. I think we've
based on the number of point of view chapters, we're pretty sure he's kind of the main guy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, these were not super long chapters, but a lot happened, and it was a page turner. Like, it kept you going. What was happening was riveting. So,
and we kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Like, I'm not jumping too far ahead, but I'm really anxious to see. I really do not like Elayne.
No,
I feel like she seems like nothing but trouble, and I get the feeling like, as Rand was trying to briskly walk out at a trot, she's not far behind.
No, and Jordan does a great job of planting those seeds, because she's not a very nice character. She's interesting, but
she's like on the same level as Umbridge from Harry Potter.
kind of a bitch.
Yes, but good catch there, because this is not the last you've seen of her if you continue reading. So
yeah, you picked up what Jordan was throwing down there. So.
She gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
Morgase is another one that's very interesting too. The more there's a lot of layers there, and I think that we've learned already that Tom had some sort of a relationship with her. So that's the queen that Tom had some sort of falling out with at some point in the past.
And I would like to revisit Chris's point from the beginning, to go full circle with Morgase. But she was one of the two people who did not flinch when the heron-marked blade was identified. And I almost wondered if she could wield the one true source, or if she was somehow not surprised by anything. Like, if she had seen everything already, then she wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean, she seemed unflappable.
And her daughter's heading to Tar Valon to study with the Aes Sedai.
True.
Too. So.
Yeah. It's keep that one in the back of your head too. She I think the only reaction Jordan noted was like she seemed to like grip the armrests of her chair a little tighter. But that was the only outward visible sign, I think. So, one question I did have.
It's interesting.
Say,
go ahead.
When they come in and they're supposed to bow, and Rand mimics what Gawyn is doing, dropping to the knee and planting his fist, and Talonver is looking at him like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was wondering if Talonver just hated him, or if he bowed incorrectly, and that sort of a bow is only reserved for like a noble class or a member of the royal family or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not,
I'm almost wondering if it's the latter on that one, that he just didn't do the right
yeah.
bow. I mean, Talonvor just met him. The thing I kind of found, the way that it was portrayed here was intriguing, was when they were trying to figure out what to do with Rand, and they're saying, well, we need to lock him in, the dungeon, or lock him in some cell until all this passes. But then Morgase is basically like, well, do you mean any harm to me or my family, or do you, and she's basically like, well, then you can go, just make your way out of here and, head back to wherever you're going.
Palace walls, please.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like a little slap on the wrist, but again, it kind of goes back to the whole Ta'veren plot device that was set up a couple chapters ago, that, things are kind of happening. So when you think about it from that way, he was meant to fall over that wall and meet all these people and have an impact, and then keep moving on down the road.
Potentially Morgase letting him go was the pattern ensuring he gets to certain points. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. But it's also a slippery slope, right? Because if you overanalyze that...
Yeah.
But I like that, yeah. So the next chapter is called Old Friends and New Threats. So that leads me to believe there might be a reunion. So...
Pretty good chance
so
of that.
Next week, we will be covering chapters probably 41 and 42, if I had to guess. I haven't looked that far ahead. But do we have anything else to touch on 39 or 40? All right.
I think so.
Well, in that case, I would like to thank everyone for watching. We would like to thank everyone for watching. If you did enjoy this, I invite you to click the subscribe button. We invite you to click the subscribe button. I'll start saying we from now on. Just in everyday life, I think. If my wife asks me what I want for dinner, I'll be like, we would like pizza. I don't...
And then we can come over for pizza.
Brian and Chip will be over in 15 minutes, woman. Come on.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway... We would invite you to click that subscribe button and also hit the bell notification so that when we post new content, you get notified. Also, please feel free to leverage the comment section. Continue the discussion there. So what parts did you like? Do you have anything that maybe you'd like to point out that maybe we missed or misrepresented? That's certainly possible. And then lastly, I invite you to hit the link in the description below and check out our tiers on Patreon. We have several tiers at varying amounts, which gets you access to backstage stuff, also some physical swag mailed your way, whether that's stickers, dice tray, custom 3D print based on the book we're currently reading. So there's a lot of fun stuff there as well. So... we will see you next week. We'll be starting with chapter 41. We'll see if there is truly a reunion. But until then...
Alonzi.